Welcome in. Good to see everyone. Happy September. We're here, our first episode in September. Mandi, good afternoon or good morning. It's good afternoon for us.
It's afternoon. Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Happy September.
Happy September.
Yeah.
What do you, okay, so we're heading into fall.
Yes.
Do you have anything you particularly like about the month of September?
Ooh. I love football. And my Browns played yesterday and we lost, but I'm not a stranger to losing when it comes to my NFL team. But
Yes.
it's, my husband's a Dolphins fan and the
They
Dolphins won. And
Yeah.
I love football. I also love, and Amani, I think you can relate to this because you used to live in California. In September, San Diego, we get our city back. So the tourists tend to leave after Labor Day, and then our summer begins. September, October, November are like the best times a year in San Diego, and then we get our city back. So
You
I'm
do.
not like following like wayward tourists, and I'm grateful for the tourists and the
Yes.
economic impact they make to my city. But I'm not following people they don't know how to drive. I'm not standing in long lines with indecisive people. Like it's like it's kind of back to the locals now. So I love
Okay.
that about September. What
So-
about you? Your birthday's
Well,
coming up.
It's coming up less than a week here. Julia's tuning in from
Yeah.
Hollywood. So Julia, which is a good segue, and Julia,
Hi, Julia.
hello, is an Eagles fan, and her husband is a Packers fan, and I'm a
Ooh.
Washington fan. So we don't like Eagles fans, but I do like you, Julia. So I'll keep you that. You won't hold that against you. But yes. So my team lost as well yesterday. Got a nice little butt whipping there. But
Sorry.
September's nice. The weather kind of cools down. It's really beautiful outside. This will be like my first September in Vegas, so I'll let you know how it goes.
Mhm.
And school's back in session, which is always fun and exciting. And yeah, that's what I think about September. But you did mention tourists and traveling, which is actually a good segue to our guest today.
Yes. So our guest, I want to tell a quick story about our guest.
Go ahead.
So when I met our guests, it was in Cartagena, Colombia. It was earlier this year. And he was our DMC partner for our HPM President's Club. And I got to bear witness firsthand, like that he's a founder and an owner of this company, but I got to witness firsthand the customer service, the passion, the experience. We had so many cool experiences. So as a planner, I got to witness just how awesome he and his company are firsthand. But something that really struck me about this person, which is what provoked me to say we have to have him on the show, was our closing night dinner. And he got on the microphone and he talked about Colombia and how much he loves Colombia, how much he loves the people and the culture and the food, and how proud and honored he was to be able to share that with us and share that with so many people. And I shed a little bit of a tear. I was so motivated by that. And
Hmm.
it's just cool. We all have a lot of options of what kind of businesses we run or what products we sell. And like, there is nobody more proud of this product of Colombia and the product of what he does. And he does such a good job as Juan Pablo Toro, who is the CEO and founder of the Balba Travel. So I'm excited that
Yes.
you're here coming to us from Colombia
Yes.
today,
So
Juan.
coming to us, we would usually give you a round of applause. We'll give a virtual round of applause for you. Welcome to the stage. Also, shout out Jasmine Romaine. Thank you for tuning in. We
Hey,
appreciate that.
Jasmine.
So, Juan, welcome to our show. Let us know kind of what's going on. What's maybe talk to us about what's new in Colombia, what happens in September, since that's our theme. What goes on in Colombia that you want to share with us that happens in September?
Hey, so thank you very much for the invitation. Super happy to be here during the next hour, sharing some stories about my life and the way I understand and showcase Colombia. So Colombia is amazing because Colombia is in the tropics. So Colombia is up in the north of South America, and the weather is pretty much the same all year long. Um, I like September because we're playing. There's also some soccer. We have tomorrow a football match with Argentina. We were
Mm,
at the
Ooh.
final of the
yes. Copa
Cup of
America.
America
Yeah.
that was hosted a few months ago in the States. So we're playing again with Argentina for the qualifyings of the World Cup. And well, the soccer in Colombia gathers all the people around the country. So it's so much fun. Um, I think that's something nice about September. It's also a nice season to travel around Colombia. After summer, September, October, it begins to get more breezy. So it's very, very nice to be in the country during this time of the year.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, I'm a big soccer fan, so I know about Colombia and how it was a very close game. But did you lose in PKs or no? Regular time, regular overtime. It was extra time in the Copa America, right?
Overtime.
Yeah, it was okay, overtime. What are maybe in Colombia, and I know you don't have to choose favorites, but what are some cities that you really feel people should visit? Top 5 cities to visit in Colombia.
Well, Colombia is a very diverse country culturally, and also the biodiversity is amazing. So it's like different countries within one country. Of course, I say Cartagena. It's a highlight. It's a must. We were there with Mandi and the
Mhm.
HPN Presidents Club last May. It's amazing because it's a melting point of different cultures. So you get to see the African heritage, the Spanish influence, and also the indigenous influence. We
Mhm.
have an amazing historical colonial town in Guatapé, which is surrounded by a very nice wall. It's a UNESCO World Heritage, and it has been awarded several times as the most amazing and beautiful colonial town in the world. So I think this is amazing. It also has the Caribbean beaches very close by, so it's a perfect combination of culture with very nice beaches. Then, of course, I would say Medellin. I think Medellin is an example of why second opportunities matter.
Mhm.
Medellin was the most insecure city in the world a few decades ago. I'm sure you all know about Pablo Escobar. The drug cartels were mainly based in Medellin, and Medellin was the town of Pablo Escobar. At some time of history, it was the most insecure city in the world. But Medellin has managed to transform itself,
Mm,
and now it's an example of urban transformation, social inclusion, and you breathe hope and you feel hope in Medellin. It's an amazing city. The weather is all year long the same. It's like the city of the eternal spring. I'm sure you know reggaeton. Reggaeton is booming all around the world.
Mhm.
Medellin is the
yes.
city of Karol G, of Maluma, of J Balvin. Urban art is amazing, and there's a huge sense of belongship for the city of Medellin.
Mhm.
People feel extremely proud of the city, so that's very nice. Then Bogota is also a very nice city. It's the capital city. It's a huge cultural hub. The gastronomy is amazing. Lots of nice restaurants that are combining international cuisine with local flavors. So I would say those three. And then it's not a city, it's a region. The coffee region is amazing. It's full of very nice traditional towns, full of history, full of nice shops and very nice bars and restaurants. where to get a drink or eat something. But then we also have these amazing coffee haciendas and coffee farms. It's the perfect place to have some amazing coffee, and the scenery and the landscapes are amazing. There you can get to feel and see all the biodiversity in the country. And if I've had to pick a fifth one, there's also a very nice city in the Caribbean, in the coast of the Caribbean in Colombia, which is called Santa Marta. We have a very nice natural park, very close, which is called Tayrona. So I think these five cities represent Colombia and are very diverse within themselves.
Okay. Okay. Got to say hello to Jim Finlaw, who's tuning in from Denver, Colorado. Hello,
Hi,
Jim.
Kim.
Welcome. Uh, Before I get to Mandy, I know Mandy has tons of questions. Can you explain to us how was Medellin able to transform and overcome their reputation that they had previously?
So I think this has been um, several years of hard work. I think something that has worked very well in Medellin is that the majors and the leaders of the city have been working during the last years under the same ideas. I think this has been very important, and they have managed to create big infrastructure projects and public policies that has allowed the city to transform. But I also think the hard work and the sense of belongship of the people has been very important. They believe in their city, they are proud of their city, they care about their city. So when everyone is working around the same objectives and goals, you manage to do amazing things. And I think that's an example of Medellin, but also an example of Colombia. Colombia was also a failed state, and we signed a historical peace agreement which ended the longest armed conflict in the Western Hemisphere. And now we're seeing and experiencing a second opportunity. And that's very important because I think also something that characterizes Medellin and Colombia is that we decided to bet for forgiving the enemy rather than beating the enemy. And when you change your mindset in that way, amazing things uh, begin to happen. Reconciliation and forgiveness become tremendous values that are very powerful.
I like it. Okay.
Man.
Thank you for explaining. Go ahead, Mandy.
Well, you just said so much in that. Like I think my takeaways on that are the forgiveness is so powerful. And whether it's human to human or state to state or enemy to, I mean, from a global standpoint, forgiveness is so powerful. Look what it did for your country. And then the other thing you said that really jumped out for me is, I do meetings all over the world, and it is so painfully obvious to me when you're in a city and you're doing a site inspection of multiple hotels and multiple venues, even though everybody is a competitor with each other, their ultimate goal should be getting that conference or convention to that city. And it's you can feel that. Like I can feel it when people are not working together, when they're not, rowing the boat in the same direction. And you don't feel like it belongs, right? And it can kill the deal of a city when hotels are talking bad about each other or when they're not collaborating. So I love that you said that. I really think for you, for Colombia, that's an advantage of like we work together. We just want to get people here. We don't care if you go to this hotel, that hotel. We just want to get people there. So I appreciate you saying that. Um, I want to switch gears for a second because I know I was there for a certain type of event, the HPM President's Club event, an incentive trip, which it was a beautiful place for an incentive trip, and I highly recommend people go. But something that you coined are these MBA trips. Like you've done programs for Stanford Business Track and Harvard Business School. And apparently, all these MBA programs have a business track. I didn't know anything about this. So, can you just tell me a little bit more about this? And how did you court these high end MBA programs to come to Colombia?
Okay, let me explain you a little bit. So that's
Yeah.
the way in which the company began. I have always been super passionate about my country. I love to host people. I like hospitality. And since I was very young, I used to organize the events and the parties and the travel plans for my family and my friends. And people began to recognize me in that way. While I was at the university, I had a very close friend of mine, Juan David Galindo. He went to do his MBA to Harvard Business School. This was 2016. And in the MBA programs, people used to travel a lot, and they call these trips treks. Networking is a huge deal when you're doing an MBA. The classes are very big. For instance, in the class of HBS, there are 1,000 incoming students every year. So they need
Mm.
to figure out how can they network. And travel represents a big part in this. And my friend asked me, Juan Pablo, I want to organize a trip to Colombia for my classmates. At that time, I was pretty young. I was 23 years old. I was doing my internship at Novartis, and I didn't realize what I was going to do. But I said, I feel passionate about my country. This is what I want to do in the long term. And I organized the first trip in 2016. And we brought 120 students. And I realized that there was a huge opportunity and that it was a very interesting market. So I began to contact other Colombian students doing other MBA programs in other universities. Then we began to contact the LATAM clubs, which are the organizations of Latin American students around the business schools. And now we also work directly with the universities. So this is our most important business unit. It has been 8 years. This year we have done 17 of these trips, which represent more than
Wow.
3,000 students. For instance, I'm right now in Ann Arbor. I was today in a meeting at the Michigan University. But it has been amazing because when we began doing this, the biggest trek was the one to Japan. Um, Colombia, well, no one used to travel to Colombia. And now Colombia is the biggest destination for
Wow.
MBA students in the Ivy League universities in the States. And the second one is Japan. And they do not even get to half of the people who come to Colombia every year. So it's completely amazing. This is a demonstration that when you showcase Colombia and when you do things different and when you bet for education around the country, big things get to happen. So it's a business unit that is growing a lot, and which make us feel very proud because all the people who get to do these MBAs are the future leaders of the world. They come from all sort of backgrounds,
Mhm.
technology, consultancy, um, private banking. So it's really something that we feel very proud about.
I just love good for you that
Hmm.
you had that mindset to say, "Hey, there's a business opportunity here." And it's not just Harvard, it's not just Stanford. There's all these other Ivy League schools, there's all these other MBA programs. I think that's a really good lesson in digging deep and finding a niche that works and continuing to grow that. So I love that. While we're on the topic of your business, let's talk about your business. Like it sounds like this first program is what launched your business. How, what are the services that you offer and how many people work for you? Just talk a little bit about your business.
Okay, so now we are 49 people. We have three offices. We have an office in Bogota, an office in Medellin, and an office in Cartagena.
Mhm.
And we have three different business units. The first business unit is University Treks.
Hmm.
We only work as for now with postgraduate students of different universities in the US and Europe. This is like 70% of the business. But since the year before the pandemic and since the pandemic ended or the world began recovering in 2022, we began a very strong initiative to strengthen our MICE business unit. And we're
Mhm.
very strong in incentives, in conventions, and in conferences. This is growing every year. And then we have a third business unit, which is leisure groups. So we work with different tour operators um, across the world, organizing series around the destinations where we operate. For us, creativity is very important. When I began this company, I wanted to drift apart from the traditional travel agency. And that's why I decided to inspire our brand and our product in the happenings. The happenings was an amazing artistic movement that took place in the 50s and the 60s that tried to democratize art, give art access to more people. A guy called Alan Kaplan said, art should not take place only in the museums, the art galleries, or the theaters. Art should take place in public spaces. And And he began organizing amazing events, integrating different artistic expressions, poetry with dance, with music. And that's what we do. We have a creative team integrated by people from different disciplines, and we're always creating our own experiences and our own events in which we showcase our culture by integrating different artistic expressions. So, for example, we have an amazing event in Medellin in which we show the transformation of Medellin through art. We invite graffiti artists, we invite
Mm,
breakdancers artists, rap artists, people who have been in the conflict and who found an active voice through arts. And it's
Mm.
nice because it's the way in which we surprise our travelers, but also we teach them something about our culture. For us, immersive travel is very important. People must learn something in a very nice and authentic way.
I think I have a couple videos of me dancing with some of your dancers,
mm,
expressing the art of
mm.
Colombia. And you're right, it does make such a difference when you have somebody doing that. How do you make time for yourself for creativity? How do you make being a busy business owner, managing 49 people and all these different business units? How do you make space for yourself for creativity?
So since I began the company, what I have liked the most is the creative part and the sales part.
Mm.
After the pandemic, I was reflecting and thinking about what's what I like the most about my business, and the conclusion was that. So at that point, I took an important decision, and I decided to quit from the position of CEO. Um, so I hired a general manager who's focused in the other parts of the business, and now I'm focused in the creative part and the sales part. And I think it's an amazing decision because I don't have 48 people reporting to me, and I'm focused in which what I'm good, and that allows me to aggregate value um, to the business, and to fulfill what I really like about my company.
It's so smart. Good leader.
Okay. Yeah. So some follow-up questions. I have a lot. Very inspiring story. How did you get the courage to leave Novartis and start your own business as you were kind of learning on the fly?
That's a good question because I remember my parents saying to me, "You shouldn't do this."
Yes.
My
Mhm.
dad said to me, "You are institutionalizing the party in Colombia. You're a lawyer," because I did law and I did also business at the
Mhm.
university. How come you will end up doing events and parties and travel? That should be your hobby. But you should
Mm.
go to a big corporation and grow in a big corporation and be sure you have a stable position and a salary every month. But I felt the instinct. This is something that I have liked and that I have been passionate about since I was very young. I think it was good that I was young, um, but it was clear for me. I felt that I had to do that, and I put so much energy into the project since the beginning, and I began to see the fruits
Hmm.
very rapidly. And I think that was very important and very disciplined when you do things that you like, and you feel a purpose in what you're doing. I think that's something very rewarding.
Okay, and then how were you able to grow your company from just you, one person, to now 49? How was the growth?
I think the people have always been very important. The team is crucial in Baoba. I think that when you have a service company, people are the basis of everything. And motivating people, giving people also an active voice in what we're doing, making sure that they are part of our vision and our value proposition is very important. So, for example, now the person that I have as a general manager, he's now my partner also with a stock options plan. He has been with me during the last 6 years, and this is something that makes completely the difference. He complements me very well, and I think that has been one of the keys of success: hiring the correct people, motivating people, and making sure that they can grow at the same time that the company grows.
I like it. I like it. What is next? Like, as you look at your growth plan, you've grown very fast for 8 years. Very passionate. You have a very inspiring story. What is next for your company?
I think we have a huge responsibility with the country. Tourism in Colombia and hospitality in Colombia, it's something new. 20 years ago, it was impossible to travel to Colombia. And we need more people to come to Colombia. I'm ambitious. I want to become the biggest and the most inspiring travel company in the country, and making sure that we can transform and revolutionize tourism in the country to get new opportunities for new people and to sustain economic growth. So, of course, we need more education. I think the corporate business unit, there's a huge opportunity. So we need to keep insisting. I think this is um, you require a lot of patience in this, and it's many times frustrating because the first reaction is, "Oh, Colombia? No, no, Colombia is so unsafe. I don't want to take my clients there." But I'm sure that there's a huge opportunity. So investing more in sales and making sure we can bring more people to feel the real experience of Colombia and the real experience traveling with Bawa.
Yeah, I want to hang here for a second while we're talking about the opportunity to get more people to Colombia. And for Julia and Jim and Jasmine, all the J's that are out there watching or listening, pop some questions in the chat for Juan while we have him captive. This is actually such a great opportunity. So we want to hear all your questions. But I have a question for you about safety. I'm sure you hear this all the time that people have a concern that Colombia isn't safe or they are getting the wrong information on the news, or maybe somebody was there 10 years ago and had a weird experience and they're not coming back. So how do you combat that conversation? How do you talk to them about safety in Colombia?
Okay, so I think I would like to divide that question into parts. Firstly, is the transformation of the country, what I mentioned before.
Mhm.
Signing this treaty was very important because we ended a conflict of more than 50 years, the longest armed conflict in the Western Hemisphere. But then you need to know where to go. And I think this is something that happens in any place in the world. I was in Chicago during the last 2 weeks in Hyde Park and staying at an Airbnb, and 6 blocks away there was a shooting. And
Mm.
so of course you need to know where to move around, but the destinations where we go are completely safe. Um, Cartagena, Bogota, Medellin are cities in which the insecurity and the crime has changed completely during the last years. Of course, it's difficult when you have so many prejudice, because those prejudices come from many years. Um, but it's changing, and I think also when you travel with a DMC, with an expert that knows where to take you around, well, it makes the difference. But yeah, it's a different story now.
Different story. Okay. And I have a curiosity too, and I don't know the answer to this, but are travel companies outside of the US and travel companies inside of the US, are they different? Like, do you run your businesses differently, or are all the DMCs? I work with a lot of DMCs globally and I've never asked this before. So I'm curious, are there things you do that people in the States don't do, or are there things that you won't do as a business that people in the States do?
I think it should be the same. I think something that I admire and respect about DMCs in the US is that they take seriously being a DMC. What happens many times in Colombia or even in Latin America is that a company with one employee, they call themselves DMCs, but well,
Mm,
they don't have the
yeah,
connection, they don't have
I've
the people. But at the end, well, a DMC it's a local expert,
mhm.
and knows how to move very well with the different suppliers, and has the connections with the different vendors, and provides 360-degree solutions that integrates well the different services. So I think at the end, well, it's the same, but it happens that some people call themselves DMCs without being DMCs.
I've actually experienced that before where I'm like, "Do you have an office? Or do you do this full time?" You're so right in that. And a lot of people they don't realize, right? They're on the beach, they're on vacation. They're like, oh, I'm going to book that boat from that person walking by. They don't realize that person has no insurance. That person is borrowing a boat or paying a boat, and it's super scary. So you just mentioned something though about the relationships and the connections that you have. This business is all about relationships. So what is your philosophy? Obviously, as customers, the travelers are really important, but I'm willing to guess that the relationships with your vendors are equally important. So how do you maintain and build those relationships? What's your relationship philosophy in general?
I think, well, relationships should be settled in a long-term vision. I think that's important. Constant communication, it's very important, and direct communication. Feedback, it's very important. And it's like building a friendship. It's important with my closest vendors. I don't know, every 6 months or every year, go and have a beer and chat and get to know also who's the person behind that company.
Mm,
And in that way, you build strong relations, which I think is very important. But yeah, I think communication and a long-term vision are the basis of building long-standing relations with the vendors and with
yeah,
all stakeholders in general.
So
agree.
I want to go back to the college trek program. That's interesting. So very interesting to me because I teach at a college here in California. Do you still only work with Ivy League schools, or are there other schools that you work with? And how do you get the schools to be comfortable with the safety in Colombia?
So we do not work exclusively with Ivy League schools. We have worked also with other colleges and universities across the United States, and even we work with universities and colleges not only in the States but also in Europe. Um, so there are trips which are an initiative of the students, in which the students are the decision makers, and there are others in which the decision maker is the university. But I think it works pretty similar that as an incentive. It's building trust and confidence since the beginning. The site inspections are very important. Getting people to see, to feel the destination. I think that for Colombia, site inspections are crucial. And we always encourage site inspections, and we work together with the tourism board and with the convention bureaus to make sure people get to Colombia. We're also doing many fam trips, um, inviting people to get to see the country. I think that's the best way for people to feel the real perception of the country and to avoid taking decisions with stereotypes or prejudice.
Okay. And then with regards to like the treks, like do they all go to the same cities, or do they have some favorite places that they like to go to and visit?
So we have 5 different destinations where we operate: Medellin,
Okay.
Cartagena, Bogota, the Coffee region, and Santa Marta.
Okay.
All trips are different. And something that has also been a key of success of Baoa is that in groups of up to 700 people, we get each traveler to customize the travel experience according to their own preferences and budget and needs. And I would like to give you an example.
Okay.
Last 3 weeks, we were in Cartagena, Medellin, and Bogota with a group of Stanford students. We had 280 Stanford students that were beginning their MBAs, that are beginning their MBAs in September. So we had 2 different hotel packages. We had 5-star hotels. For example, the Sofitel Santa Clara in Cartagena, which is where we stayed with HPN, which is an amazing property, one of the 6 legends of Sofitel in the world. But then we also had another hotel, which is very nice, which is a 4-star hotel called Estelar. And then we had lots of optional activities. So, for example, during the morning, the group was divided in 5 different activities. In Medellin, some were doing horseback riding, some others were doing a drug war victims tour to understand the influence of Pablo Escobar in the culture. Another
Mm.
group was doing some coffee tasting and visiting a very traditional coffee farm. Another ones were doing a brunch in a very nice restaurants, and some others were doing paragliding. And we get to this level of customization because we have a technology team. We have 7 engineers as part of our team that are always creating technological solutions to make sure we can get to this level of customization. So we have our own app in which people get to select their activities, their hotels, and it's amazing because even though you're in a group of 700 people or 600 people or 400 people, each person ends up living a completely different experience, which is consistent with their budget and with what they like the most.
Interesting. I love it.
Amani, are you doing a college of music business track? Are you thinking about it?
My mind is going every which way, trying to debate and figure out how can we make this happen. Very interesting. Very, very
Ah,
interesting.
cool.
Um, Now let's do it this time. So now we've come to the time in the program where, because I have a lot of follow-up questions after this, where you can ask me a question and you can ask Mandy a question. Nothing is off limits. Who do you want to ask the question to first, and what question is that?
So I'd like to begin by you, Amani. Before this show and before Mandy talked to you about Colombia, what was your idea of Colombia? What did you
Ooh,
know about Colombia before?
Good question.
that's a good question. I didn't know much. I'll never forget though. I had an administrative assistant who was from Colombia when I worked in Miami. And so beautiful. She was beautiful, very intelligent, educated. So that was my first exposure to Colombia, just learning through her. And then I would also say to visit, I might have been a little bit nervous to visit because of safety, but then learning from Mandy and from you, like I'm ready to go there. Like I think my friends and I are planning a international trip soon, and I'm going to suggest like Colombia.
Yeah.
And because a lot of times to go like to South America or Central America, Cuba is a very popular city. But I think I want to maybe go to Colombia more so because it just seems a little bit more intriguing, specifically with the combination of the indigenous people, the African influence, and then the Latin American influence. That's very interesting to me. And the music. The music, because I'm a DJ, so of course you have reggaeton, Maluma, J Balvin. Like I could really, really practice my Spanish, enhance my Spanish, and I could really enjoy it. So that's what comes to mind when you ask me that question.
Amazing.
Yes. Mandy, what's the question you have for Mandy?
So, Mandy,
Yes.
what's the thing or the things you feel more passionate about in life?
Oh, geez. I was ready to answer anything you wanted about Colombia.
No
you
passions in
really
life.
hit you really hit me with a
Mhm.
zinger.
Yeah.
Um, um, you know what? I'm a really passionate person, and I know that because we spent so much time together in May. I I believe in being kind, and I think there is a shortage of kindness in this world right now, especially in business. And I think a lot of business owners and business people really hang their hat on, I'm so busy, I don't have to be kind, or I'm direct, I don't have to be kind, or I'm just trying to get my job done, I don't got to be kind. And I just think all of that is just BS. I think everybody needs to be kind. And a lot of times it's lazy to be mean and
Mm,
it's hard work to be kind. And I think we've all got to make a bigger, better effort at it, myself included. And I think when you're kind, it doesn't mean people are stepping on you. It just means you're making an effort to build a relationship in the absolute best, most sustainable way. So I'm passionate about a lot of things, but like right now, at this moment, it's kindness in business and then just kindness in life and leveling up your kindness in general.
mm, I like it.
That's completely amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now
Thank you.
for the next question for you. Thank you for those questions, by the way.
Good
I I
questions.
I, I want to really, because it's so funny that you mentioned how your dad and your parents were like, no, 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 you must stick in law and you must go work in a big corporation. if you could go back and talk to Juan when Juan was 21 years old, probably about to graduate either college or from law school soon after, but based on everything you've learned so far, what advice would you give your younger 21-year-old self?
Yeah, I think like following the instinct without doubting. I think what I did, I do not regret at all. But yeah, you need to take risks and to follow your passion. I think life is about finding a purpose. Purpose is very important. So I think it's difficult when you're young to find the purpose, but be sure to be thinking and analyzing which is the purpose and try to find your purpose. I think that I was privileged because I found it pretty young and I was courageous and took the decision. But I would say be even more driven around the purpose and taking decisions.
Mm.
Do not
And then
doubting.
for people who are scared or have fear of finding their purpose and going for it, what advice do you have for those, specifically for people who are scared and afraid?
I think it's important to talk about the purpose.
Mm.
Um, I feel many times you feel shy about showing who you are and experiencing new things. The world is intimidating and the pressure is huge. So I think exploring your own authenticity with your close friends, with your colleagues, with your family is important. You are a personal brand. What's that personal brand? And I think it's very important to put it in constant relation with the people who surround you. It's not only defining it, but also exploring it and putting it in touch with the people who are around you.
Mhm.
I love
Well
it.
said.
When was your purpose cloudy? Like, can you think of a time when you're right now, you're very clear about
Mhm.
your purpose, but I think a lot of times people are like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what I want. Like they don't have that clarity. Can you think of a time when your purpose wasn't as clear or tell a story about that?
Well, I think that entrepreneurship is hard and challenging. So, of course, tough times make you reconsider or think about your purpose. I
Mhm.
think that the tourism and the event industry, the hospitality industry, is very vulnerable, and there are
Mhm.
many things that can affect your business drastically. I remember the pandemic. The pandemic was terrible for us because our highest season is always a spring break, which is when the most amount of students come to Colombia, and everything began by the beginning of
Yeah.
March. We had 1,500 students coming from Chicago and from Harvard University. So we had the, the students hired lawyers, and it was
Mhm.
so much money, so much responsibility. And I remember at that time, Jorge, who's my partner now and the general manager, he said to me, probably the best option is to close this and begin again afterwards. We do not know what will happen. Um, and I thought a lot about it, and it was difficult times. But I think also when you face those huge challenges and you manage to get out, you become stronger.
Mm.
Did you close during COVID? I mean, we all had to close in some sense, but did you close and reopen or did you just hit the pause button?
No, we kept operating.
Mhm.
At that time, it was a smaller company. I think we were 18 or 20 people.
Mhm.
And during COVID, we ended up being 12 or 13, but we kept working hard and adapting to the virtual format. And also thinking about the future, being safe. And I think it was great. I think in the perspective, and I think what happened all those years ago, and I think it was also like an important stage and era for the company.
Yeah. For people considering either traveling to Colombia or booking a meeting in Colombia, what's one piece of advice you want to give them right now if they're listening?
Do not doubt about it. Give Colombia an opportunity and come and visit it and feel the country. As I said, we are super open to welcome people and to give confidence and trust to our clients. You can come to Colombia to a site inspection without committing, but give the country an opportunity. I think second opportunities in life are very important, and Colombia deserves a second opportunity. Colombia is a hidden gem in Latin America and in the world. Nowadays, in the events industry, they are always talking about thinking outside the box. Coming to Colombia is thinking outside the box.
Mhm.
People get to Colombia without knowing what to expect, and at the end, it exceeds all your expectations. So give it a chance.
Mm,
Explore something different. In life, it's always important to do things different and explore new possibilities.
I love that.
Mm.
Okay, and now you're in Ann Arbor, which is close to where I grew up. I grew up in Ohio. So, what is one of your favorite cities that you like to visit in the United States when you're in the United States drumming up business?
So I come to the United States every year at this time of the year, and I travel around, well, the cities and the towns where there are the most universities. I had the possibility to be in Chicago during the last 2 weeks, and
Mhm,
I rented an Airbnb, and I think it has been completely amazing. It has
mhm,
exceeded all my expectations. The lake is completely wonderful. Riding a bike and through the through the lake, getting to the
mhm,
city of Chicago, it's completely amazing. The vibe is nice. It's a clean city, nice to walk around. Of course, New York, I have always loved New York. I
mhm,
remember when I was very young, I used to travel a lot with my parents, and we came a lot to New York. And I remember me saying when I was 10 years, my favorite city is New York. I still love New York, but I think Chicago has been a great surprise, and also San Francisco. San
Mm.
Francisco, I went there for a show in April after 10 years, um, and I was not knowing what to expect because what's happening nowadays, and also all the prejudice and stereotypes. I think that's
That's
also an
right.
example.
Mhm.
Many people saying, "Oh, San Francisco is completely different to what it used to be. There's so many homeless, and now it's not secure to walk around San Francisco." And I think it was completely different to what people said. It was
Mhm.
an amazing experience, an amazing opportunity, and also an example that you need to explore it. All those prejudice and stereotypes created by the media and by the people do so much harm
Mm.
to destinations, and I think that's not fair.
I appreciate you leading by example in that way because you're sort of a victim to that of people's prejudices against Colombia and you're like, "You know what? I know how that feels. Like I'm going to go to San Francisco. I'm going to go to the spots in Chicago. I'm going to go to the places there may be a little prejudice and experience it, get my eyes on it myself and get my boots on the ground myself." I really appreciate that cuz you're actually walking the walk. That's really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the best way for people to reach you? We have your LinkedIn going on the scroller, the ticker that's scrolling on the screen. We also will share it in the show notes and your website. Any other places where people can learn more about you and Colombia?
Well, I can give you my email address. I think my
Okay.
email address works very well. I can text it here in the chat or
Yes.
LinkedIn. I'm always checking LinkedIn, so I think either my email address or LinkedIn works perfectly well.
Okay. Put it in the chat and I'll add it to the LinkedIn Live. Yes. So, man, you want to close us out here?
How can we support you? If we were to give you a golden ticket to best lift you up in some way over the next year, how can we support you?
I think Colombia needs ambassadors and spreading the voice and
Mm,
talking about what you experience in Colombia, but also Amani about this amazing conversation that we had during the last 50 minutes, sharing my
Hmm.
story
Hmm.
and talking about Colombia in a positive way, not in a negative voice, in a negative way. And I think that's something that I would also appreciate a lot from the audience. Spreading the voice and spreading the message would be completely amazing for me and for the country. I think we deserve it.
Awesome. Well, we will give you a virtual round of applause. Our applause button isn't working today, so we'll just clap our hands and say thank you very much for a great
Clap.
conversation. I'm
We
ready to
salute
plan my
you.
trip to Colombia. We're going to put you in the green room. We'll be back with you in a moment. But just thanks for excellent sharing your story, the beauty of Colombia, and just how we can get there and how it has evolved. So thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you very much for the invitation. Great to meet you, Amani and Mandy. Amazing to see you again.
Yes, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. This was excellent.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
Definitely. Mandy, we're done for today. Glad to be back after our Labor Day break. Who do we have to look forward to next week?
Well, next week, so I am out of the office next week, and I think you're still going to be celebrating your birthday next week. So we are, we,
Oh, okay. We're off next week.
we are off next week. We are going to air though, so the same time that we normally have
Mhm.
our live show on LinkedIn, we're going to air our mini episode that we just recorded today
Okay.
on Monday, and it's about goals.
Yes.
So if you are wondering, at the beginning of the year, we set our goals and then we just announced where we're at with our goals and future goals and all that stuff. So we're going to air that next week at 1:00 Pacific Standard Time. And then we will be back in business live on September 23rd with Arel Moody from
Yes.
Takadat.
From Talkadat. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in live. If you're watching on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, also thank you for listening. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review the show on any platform that you're watching and listening on. Share it with a friend. Give us a thumbs up, and we appreciate all of the support. And we will see you next week for our mini re-recording or test, and then in 2 weeks for another live conversation. And awesome. And thank you very much to our guest today, Juan Pablo Toro and Mandy. Great to see you.
Great to see you, and happy early birthday, Amani.
Yes.
I hope you have lots of pancakes and lots of fun birthday adventures
I'm
next
ready.
weekend.
I'm ready. Thank you. Good to see everyone. Take care,
All right.
everyone.
Bye.